All right, we're on.
All right.
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
Almost the weekend.
You can taste it.
I can taste it. Little SEC
Weird.
bourbon going on over here. Are you drinking some Big 12 beer? Is that what's going on there?
The All-American beer. It's the Pilsner.
I don't know if I've had that. That's a Yingling?
It's really good,
I
yeah.
think I've had the Pilsner.
When it's hot right now, it's a much better go-to.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, obviously it's still too early for Oktoberfest, though I continue to see that in the stores. So maybe this weekend I'll go grab a little bit of that. All right, episode 2 of the Texas Two-Step.
Bang bang.
Here to talk about. We're gonna have to come up with a sound effect for that. It might just be a recording of you.
I like it. Yeah.
Bang, bang. I hear the two-step. I think of like country dancing. I don't think of shooting guns. So I don't know where you got that from.
Just came to me. What can I say?
Just roll with it. So episode 2. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do Thursday shows. Once the season's rolling, we'll talk about the games to come, and then obviously our Sunday little recaps.
Yep.
Are we gonna do bets? Are we gonna do dogs and
I think we need to sprinkle in something like that. I mean, it's just
picks.
It's so much more widespread now. I mean, most of my viewing now has to revolve around
where
the
your
bets.
money is.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I got asked to join an NFL legacy league, I think is what. I don't really know how it works other than you get to choose a team, but you can only choose a team once. You're always basically choosing a winner. So if you choose like the Chiefs on a game where it's obviously they're going to win or something like that, you might not have that advantage down the road. I don't really know how it's going to work. That might be the only gambling I'm doing on pro.
Elimination league.
Yeah, something. Well, but it's not fantasy. It just has to do with picks. I don't know.
You're picking a winner, but if you don't, you can't pick them again.
Something like that. Yeah, and I think you can buy yourself back in for the first couple of weeks, but eventually, it could get expensive if you're like, I shouldn't have picked them. I want to keep going.
Yeah,
so,
no, it's. Betting those.
You know what we could do? We could actually just do the ESPN Pick'em. We used to play that all the time. We could just go head to head live.
That would be good.
So
it would be good.
That could be fun.
All
right. Yeah. Well, what are we talking about this week?
I thought we kind of hit on realignment a little bit more. I don't think we quite necessarily. I think we hit it pretty hard, and everyone's got their opinion on it again. I wanted to look at realignment more specifically from, and really get your opinion on this, being Aggie. Is realignment worth it in the end? You look at since 2010, there have been some very high-profile schools move to new conferences. They have their specific reasons for it. Is the move worth it in the end, though? And it can be if you think that millions of dollars a year more is worth it, then that's fine. If you think that winning is what matters, then that's fine too. But is it worth it? So I kind of try, and I'm not talking about moving like, UTSA moving to Conference USA or whatever. I'm not talking about that, even though I think a move like that has been really good for UTSA. But I came up with some really kind of the ones that came to mind, starting really kind of in 2010 when this really kind of happened. Nebraska, Colorado, West Virginia, Texas A&M, Missouri, Utah, Rutgers, Maryland, TCU. I may be forgetting one or two in there, but those were kind of the ones that came to mind when I did the list.
TCU and West Virginia are the exact same time, right?
Yes, because after that
what's interesting in that is you've mentioned schools there that were ascending from non-Power 5 conferences to Power 5 conferences.
Right.
So obviously that's money, but it's far more.
Right.
How does West Virginia not recruit better? Or TCU? I get TCU had their moment in what were they, Conference USA?
Yeah, what was like 2012 or when did they go to the Rose Bowl? 2011?
Yeah, against Wisconsin.
Yep.
Had to have been 2011, or 2010. It was not 2012.
2011, they lost to Wisconsin. Yeah, 1921, January 1st, 21. So the 2010 season.
Yeah, that was like that, stars aligned moment. Sort of the same way they got in the national championship, except they probably deserved to be in that Rose Bowl more than the national championship, because I don't think they didn't get blown out against Wisconsin. Right. Like, it was a close game, as I remember, which put them on the map. They had Gary Patterson at that point. So, and obviously an future NFL quarterback. They had just built that, or were building that stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Money was pumping into that program. It's not like they were the TCU of 10 years before that.
No.
Where they were just kind of like a laughing stock. But I certainly think TCU got better as a program because of joining the Big 12.
Oh, for hands down. They were, in my opinion, they were on the same footing with say Boise. Boise just did it first. Boise's just not a big market. Otherwise, Boise probably would have been in Pac-12 before TCU would have been in the Big 12. TCU's happened to be in a major TV market. But going down the list, let me get your takes on these. So here, in my opinion, of the ones I named, here are the definite winners and losers in realignment, and as the way I see it, just from my own point of view. Nebraska.
Just your opinion. I got it.
My opinion, and I am accounting money into this, but I'm also counting more wins and losses, where you came from versus where you are now.
Isn't it always money?
Well, that's what we're gonna get at. I think that's where I'm gonna go.
All right.
Nebraska, L, major L. From where they were, from what they had to the Big 10, Big 12, major L. Colorado, major L.
We're gonna talk about all of them after the fact, or we want to go one at a time?
Let me go through the list. I've got definitive losers. I got definitive winners, in my opinion. Then I've got sort of the middle.
Colorado L.
Colorado L.
Okay.
Colorado's an L. That you can't. That was it was never a good fit culturally. Whatever. What have they done? I ultimately think Missouri's an L. I know they made it to the SEC East, the division winner 2 times in a row when they first got there. I ultimately think that's an L, though. I mean, they haven't done anything since. They're not regularly up there fighting for an SEC East title, even when the East is down.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's an L. Maryland is an L.
From Big East to Big Ten?
I think from ACC to Big Ten.
They were ACC?
Maryland's an L.
Okay.
Now, here are my winners. Utah. Utah's a W. Utah's a winner to me in realignment. They've gotten, they're constantly in the top 15 now in a major conference.
That's a non-Power 5 to a Power 5
Power
move.
5, exactly.
Okay. The others that you mentioned was a lateral move. Maybe a better conference, but still Power 5. Okay.
More money driven. Yeah.
Yep.
TCU, I think we've already talked. I think TCU is an easy W.
Yep, for sure.
They play in the national. You play in the national title at any point since realignment. I think that's a W. Rutgers, I think it's a W for Rutgers.
Might be a draw.
No, well, Rutgers is never going to win, no matter where they play.
Right.
They had that crazy 2007 West Virginia, was Louisville,
good running backs,
whatever that was. In Rutgers, that one year 27.
Right.
They're never going to win every play. Why not go to the Big Ten and make just crap tons of money?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So to me, the success is on the field, but they're certainly just making bank being in the Big Ten. Now where the question marks for me are, of the ones I mentioned, West Virginia and Texas A&M are the question marks.
I have no idea how A&M is a question mark. I don't know that A&M is not the biggest winner of all people that moved. Not only more money, not only more prowess, not only better coaching, not only better players, massive stadium, national prominence. It was already a massive school, but it's a household name. I mean, the little kid in New Jersey knows who Texas A&M is now, and it could probably name some players on the team over the course of the last 10 years. Whereas before that, the R.C. Slocum days, he doesn't know.
But if Missouri is an L and they've won their division twice,
yeah. But again,
A&M's never
you're talking about wins. I get Missouri's got the money, but doesn't have the national prominence, doesn't have the better stadium, doesn't have the players, doesn't have the prestige. The kid in New Jersey doesn't know a player on Missouri's team.
But I would also say Missouri's expectations, as are, I would say, Colorado, Maryland, Rutgers, Missouri, are probably a lot lower than A&M's. So, yeah, you've got tons of money pouring in. Sure, you've got but the expectation.
So you might ask the Missouri fan, hey, what is it a win? And they're going to say, what's a win, regardless, because their expectations are lower. But this is all going to go back to money. So isn't that the whole reason they're moving? So if you get more money, doesn't that make it a win?
Well,
I mean, here's going back to kind of the beginning.
TCU or Utah, you can do both.
Yeah, but they were in the lower conferences.
Right, which is interesting. I mean, didn't even think about that until I started doing the list.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to see UCF and University of Houston do better in the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
That's just that, at least for now. Easier to recruit, but Nebraska, I think, was already on the trend down. They're kind of like an Iowa, Michigan State, kind of that. What do you, or Missouri, or really almost Colorado for that matter? What are you really going to do when you're kind of the middle of the country, not next to some massive city that really, really cares about football?
Here's the difference for me is that when they left, same thing in Colorado, when they left the Big 12, they lost their recruiting. They lost whatever athletes, like mid, your 3-star, low 4-star athlete that you can get that maybe could go to A&M or Texas, but maybe didn't have a roster spot because they were getting a 5-star. But that boy could still play, and he'll go play in Nebraska. They lost that when they went to the Big Ten, and to me, until they get that back somehow with a recruiting base, I don't see where Nebraska will ever be relevant again.
But don't you think Nebraska should have that same capability to pull that type of player from?
No, I don't think in today's kids.
A Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin? If the answer is no, then okay. So basically, you're just saying that there's so many players in Texas that they have to go somewhere. Therefore, Nebraska can get some spillover.
Well, I think it's much easier to recruit maybe a 3-star kid to Nebraska when you can sell his parents that, hey, we'll be back here twice, for the next 4 football seasons playing in Texas.
I get it. I do.
I also think the style of Big Ten football is detrimental to the brand, to that brand. Whereas because you're pigeon-toed in that certain athlete in the Big Ten, whereas in the Big 12, I think you can get a better athlete, play a little more wide open, a little bit more fun. I don't know.
No, I don't know. I would have thought Nebraska is kind of that good old boy, corn-fed, winning in the trenches. Let's gain 2 yards, 3 yards at a time style football. Now I know that they slung it around. They had some, Eric Crouch and some great players before, but I don't know. I guess I don't really have a strong opinion on the brand of Nebraska football outside of, like, I watched Nebraska plenty because I was a Florida State fan growing up in the 90s, and they were in the national championship against them a couple times. Like, Nebraska was a powerhouse, but I don't think of them as, I don't know, even historic teams like a Notre Dame or, a team of the 80s, like 90s of like Miami, even Florida. I guess I just don't. I kind of think of them as they were good, but just for a period of time.
Is Nebraska a blue blood?
No.
No.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No. I mean, I don't know if you're hanging on titles. It's more like, the way I think of blue blood is more like did the school help define the sport in a very pivotal time? Like a Michigan, Notre Dame, Texas to a degree. Ohio State's been there. USC,
Oklahoma.
yeah, right. Historically, all right, the game is changing on their football field because of what they're doing and the players that they had.
Yeah.
I think Nebraska is really a product of being able to pull together some decent teams with some decent coaches in smaller conferences in like the 80s and 90s. Like, all right, great. They were good during the, I mean, what it was, the Big Eight.
Well, the Big Eight, yeah, but then they won the Natty, and they split the Natty. Then they joined the Big 12. Was 96,
right?
They won the split Natty in 97, and they won the Natty in 94, 95, and then lost to Texas in the Big 12 title game. Won the Natty in 97, and then they play for it. They played for it in 2001. Yeah, and that was it.
And then off the rails.
Yeah, I mean, a blip up there in 09, but they were never never serious contender for anything. I don't know. It's just
they fell apart when the internet grew. I don't know what to say other than that. Just kind of like kids were able to see other schools, and therefore it was like not there. So even what surprised me the most about Nebraska was that Scott Frost didn't do well. It's like he was great at Oregon. He was great what he did at Central Florida.
Yeah.
And then to get to go back to your alma mater with the money, with having been a player, and like you can't put together an offense. I mean, worse than Bo Pelini kind of thing. Like how? Why? Yeah. Other than to say, you guys don't have it. You can't do it. I don't think people were so excited to have him come. The money was there. People showed up, and players were abysmal.
I wasn't surprised to see him fail because honestly, I just believe Nebraska is a type of program that will never be relevant over a 3-year period again. I really don't. And
they might have a good year.
They might have a good year too. You hop up 9 wins, you get a right bounce of the ball, maybe get 10 wins. Who knows? It's a weak division in that Big Ten West. I just think in today's game, marketing that Lincoln, Nebraska, corn-fed throwback kind of just that even that in's just, it's a terrible in. It's just so plain. Like it's,
Yeah, I think the retro can be cool, but like the kids probably like a retro game, like A&M pulls out the retro jerseys or Texas pulls out the retro. That's cool. There's the throwback, but you don't want to go live it. At the same time, I do not see a modern version of Nebraska. Could you see Lincoln, Nebraska getting behind some like really like almost like what TCU did and tried to get real modern? I couldn't see.
No. The fan base would riot.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I think Nebraska sold its soul and sold winning out for money, which if you're a college administrator, college president, and that's the goal, then there you go. You've done it.
They chased money. I know that they made a comment about academics, but do you want to acknowledge the name on your shirt and wonder what role you played? Like there was a lot of those teams were like, we got to get away from Texas. They think this conference is theirs. And yeah, I know. I get it. And so like I think Texas ultimately got what it wanted was way less competition, except for OU.
I don't think Texas ever wanted way less competition. I just think Texas got an incredibly big head for sure. And Nebraska ruling the Big Eight, coming in, joining conferences, knowing they kind of had to join conferences with the Southwest Conference. And Southwest Conference, I mean, knowing they had to do that, I remember reading stories about how, like Nebraska and the Big Eight made a lot of concessions in certain things they were going to do. There was I forget what it was called. It was a recruiting deal where basically Nebraska could take kids who couldn't qualify and they could put them under some program and get them in. I think like Lawrence Phillips was actually part of that program, whatever. And when Texas came in, they said, nope, you're going away with that. We're not doing that in this conference.
Yeah.
And Tom Osborne, I was always really butthurt about that. And honestly, I think probably Tom Osborne maybe saw it right on the wall too at some point. That's why he's always hated Texas. But I don't think they ever wanted that. I just think, yeah, I mean, they had so much success in those mid 2000s. Yeah, they got arrogant with what
they wanted to call the shots. They did push it around. Obviously, the TV deal was probably already in the works before Nebraska. Like, it doesn't take very long to move. 1 year. They probably needed Colorado to go as well, and to some extent, I think when A&M was making the move with the SEC, I think they needed a second team as well. And it was like, well, we need somebody from the north, and it was probably just Missouri. Now, I think Bowen Lofton, the president of A&M at the time, had connections to Missouri, and so because he went to be the president after that, I think he was kind of pulling the strings there too. He was like, hey, why don't we both go to
Missouri,
the SEC?
If I remember correctly, Missouri wanted to go to the Big Ten. They thought culturally they fit better, the academics were better, the money was the same. They wanted to go to the Big Ten, but I don't think for whatever reason, I can't remember what the Big Ten did. But yeah, I mean, but again, going back to it's like what did Nebraska gain out of that move? Like they literally cut their nose off to spite their face, being able to never produce another winner again. But hey, they get $50 million a year now.
You'd probably even be able to find some fans from the 80s though that would say, were they a winner or a loser by going to the Big 12? Like you said, they made concessions to take the Big 8 and merge with the Southwest.
Yeah,
it's always the move. Like that was the move in order to make a bigger conference, in order to compete with, as the Big 10 was growing, the Pac-12. I think that's why the Big 12 was created, again, chasing the dollar, which there's going to be teams that probably would say we weren't a winner by going to the Big 12.
Well, I mean, and you were in the oil patch for years. I mean, you know all those Southwest Conference, those old guys, those feelings. They're still real.
No doubt. Oh,
they're still real.
Yeah, if you're over the age of 55, you want things to go back to that way. I bet Oklahoma would love to have the Big 8 back. A lot of the old fans. I mean, that was just they would crave the Switzer days and just to live in that era.
But it's no different when I'm in 15, 20 years. I'll look back and say that's how I feel about the Big 12. Now, ultimately, like the Big 12, had to die basically, but I'll still always have those feelings. Early Big 12 went from really 99 to 2000. That was the best conference in football. And I don't think that's an even argument. That was the best conference in football for a decade.
Could have been. What years? Say it again.
Roughly from 2000 to, let's call it 2010, when Colt McCoy got hurt.
Florida had their run in there, right? When that Tebow inside of those years.
Tebow, let's see. So 05 was Texas. Florida was 06. That was the Chris Leak. And then 07 was LSU. Yeah. So
I think you're going to see the SEC have started its run around 2007.
Yeah, but top to bottom, was it as good as what it was for that decade?
I don't know. I'd have to do a deeper dive on that, but for sure.
But again, going back to it, it's like because I heard and I actually heard a pundit say this, so I don't get your take on it, is that A&M's ultimate with the move to the SEC, aside from the money, A&M's ultimate legacy though is that they got one up on Texas by Texas having to follow them to the SEC. That they ultimately that was ultimately, like, because their wins aren't there, the trophies aren't there, but that's ultimately like the legacy.
I still would say that the last 10 years has been a more successful 10 years in the SEC than the previous 10 years before that in the Big 12.
The last 10 years, absolutely.
So there you are. So you're saying, well, there's no wins, there's no trophies, but I'm already saying, but the team's better, even in the hardest conference in the league. So they've already gotten better, period, and they've gotten more money and everything else that I went over. So your point would say, but if you hadn't left, you might have won the conference, or maybe the year with Johnny, you wouldn't have lost 3 games and you would have gone to the national championship. And I do think there's argument to say that the final A&M team in 2012 was the best team in college football. Had beaten Alabama, who went on to win the national championship, absolutely destroyed the Big 12 champion in the Cotton Bowl. Lost to Florida the very first game by 3 points. Lost to LSU, and that's it. So
that's
2 losses.
I'll give you the Florida loss. It's the LSU loss that
no doubt.
That's why I think that's why you can't say they were
on the road. 3 interceptions. Like, it was not a good game.
And that wasn't even a good. I don't believe that was even like a great LSU team.
I don't know. Maybe not a great team. Still a Les Miles team. But my point would be that the team that beat Oklahoma 42-13 in the Cotton Bowl was the best team in college football. A&M against Alabama on a neutral field, because they had just won in Tuscaloosa, right? So they even won on the road. The final game, if they had played on a neutral field, you watch A&M in the Cotton Bowl, and I mean that team had like starters were pulled in the fourth quarter. It was so nasty.
No, that was.
But I'm just saying, like, that the way that they played in that Cotton Bowl, I would have bet against the Alabama team, even though obviously playing against Saban again is tough. But
yeah, see that LSU team finished number 12 in the country, 10-3.
Yeah.
So yeah, we weren't even like a good LSU team, but not even a great LSU team.
Yeah,
I think that's where it gets you. But
no doubt. And had we beat the Florida team, I still think we go to the national championship, because they were just a 1-loss team. You still could have lost, which that was a 10-13 very first game. Like, nobody knew who anybody was. There was no groove there.
If you lose to Florida, but you beat LSU, and you go to the SEC title game to play a 12-1 Georgia.
Not an amazing Georgia team. That was a bad East.
Yeah.
East. Like, that's when everyone was like, that East is awful.
Just because that team, that A&M team was so hot. It was so hot. They just had that whatever.
That was it.
Yeah. So.
That was it. All right.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it was interesting to me to see that, and with all these moves now, how they're made not for the best interest of winning, which I think ultimately brings you more money. They're made in the interest of just pure guaranteed dollars, which is what these leaders, these 55, 60-year-old men in leadership, they don't know anything about football, are dealing with.
I haven't counted it, but I would bet that the W column is actually greater for A&M in the last 10 years than it is the previous 10 years, because they just weren't very good at the end of their run in the Big 12. Now, to leave that as it is, you're not going to find many people that would say A&M shouldn't be in the SEC. And to your point about the one-up, as a fan, I don't look at it that way. I don't feel like, because the move was so good, I don't need a pat on the back about, oh, you were right. We knew we were right from the beginning. It was all the other teams that wanted to tell A&M that they were foolish, that they were going to go 6-6, and then they went 10-2. You know, there was like, we needed some people to eat crow about that, but nobody needed to tell us that it was, oh, you were right about the move. I think everybody felt like it was the right move, regardless, especially after those first few years.
Regardless of what happened post Johnny, with pulling in Myles Garrett, pulling in Kyle Allen, all those good recruiting classes.
Awful, some really bad management. No doubt, like, missed opportunities, 100%. 100%. Like, Yeah, but hindsight, you can't go back. I just don't think Kevin Sumlin was a good manager at all. I mean, I
Okay.
don't really know how to describe him, honestly, because he went on to do nothing. Like
Yeah.
even Canadian football, or arena football, or wherever he went to, like still not successful.
Where is Kevin Sumlin?
I don't know. I mean, he mismanaged. God, who was the Arizona quarterback that was so good?
The recruit Kyle Allen?
No. He went to Arizona and coached at Arizona right after A&M for a couple years.
Oh,
They had that quarterback that was ridiculously good, very talented. He ruined him.
I don't remember, but his current position is co-offensive coordinator, tight ends coach, and associate head coach at Maryland.
Oh, he's back in college football. Okay, well.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen! The swag copter.
Yeah,
He's in a squad card somewhere.
I think he really got on a hot run and then was in over his head and just didn't really know how to get it back. But anyway,
I guess we can segue that in the next kind of thing I wanted to talk about. I mean, but I'll kind of let you get kind of your last word on realignment too, and then despite what happens in the SEC, we can always revisit it too, because I think something as realignment deserves as much talk as it's going to get, because it's fundamentally changing the way.
And it's not over.
No, it's not over. It's not over. I mean, again, we haven't touched even on the ACC yet, and I guess we can do that maybe as it comes. But to me, it's and maybe exactly like we just talked about with the old guys in the Southwest Conference and the Big Eight, the original Big Ten teams, all that teams. It's fundamentally changing the way that you and I are going to go into be a fan for the next decades. And it's also how our kids are going to see football and see and learn that. And it's just going to fundamentally change the way we look at the sport. And I don't think that can be understated enough, personally.
You're more of an NFL fan than I am. Do you feel like fans in the NFL care about their divisions or even their conference?
As much as college, no. But no. Yeah. Ultimately, no. As much as their conferences and their sort of regional affiliation, no.
So here's what I ultimately think happens with college: it is all about money, because it's a business. Regardless, now the players are paid to a degree. A lot of the reason for this movement is get into bigger network deals, get into bigger markets. The kids are going to have more opportunity for NIL deals. All of that just helps recruiting, helps the money. I think it just becomes a little bit more professional, and ultimately the schools are the brand and the conference ends are semi less important, because they're just almost too big, kind of like the way the NFL works. Is I think we're probably going to end up with, this is a guess, I think you're going to have maybe a few things happen here. People will continue to chase money. There's going to be set dollar amounts. Like the Big Ten still has more money than the SEC, but the SEC is going to end up with probably this conversation where you've got the superpowers, right? The five main teams, the main market teams in the SEC, and they're going to say, well, how do we get more money? And the answer is, we got to kick out.
Yeah, kick you out. Yeah.
So who's taking up money that isn't pulling their weight? Vandy.
Yeah, but
Mississippi State.
Yeah. South Carolina currently.
South Carolina, maybe in Arkansas.
Kentucky.
Well, and here's the other
Basketball.
thing. Do we end up with football affiliation conferences and then the other? Like, could you have SEC football and then not SEC football? Like, I think the Big East did that. Like, there was Big East basketball and then there was other alignments.
Yeah, well, I mean, Notre Dame does that to an extent currently, right? With full affiliation
with football
or all sports, and they contractually play 4 or 5 ACC games.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know I certainly think that the kicking like the guys out, because I mean, if you're in Ohio State or in Alabama
What are you doing
or
there? Yeah,
whatever, like I mean, you're like, man, why am I can get another 10 million if I just kick the Northwestern and Rutgers out. That's an easy decision. So yeah, I don't know where that is.
Because with the streaming now, nobody cares about the cable deal. It's all about the personal brand.
Streaming is going to be interesting as more as in 5 years to look up and see what streaming becomes and how that dictates things. I really
don't you think that's what this is about? It's more an alignment to larger brands rather than network deals, because who's watching cable? I mean, that's my guess. Like when
you're thinking, are you thinking like
I think
a Longhorn network only with Apple Network or Apple TV or
possible. It's too easy to have your own network at this point. So it's like, yeah, A&M's got the capacity to make their own private streaming service and just align with a provider or align with, or you know, you got your premium packaging. I mean, why? I think that's the direction it goes. Is like you're staying in conferences in order to play games, but the thing is, you're your own brand, and that's really how the NFL is the Cowboys are the Cowboys. It has nothing to do with the Eagles, and the Eagles their brand really doesn't have anything to do with the Cowboys, not the way that Vanderbilt is really high value because they play Tennessee.
Here's the main difference that I really, it's going to be a tough wall to break through. You have a commissioner in the NFL making sure that all 31, 32 teams, owners are rowing the same way, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't see where that's possible in college football. Now, the splitting of football from sort of the NCAA, I could easily see that, because again, I kind of referenced it last week, like Title IX, with all this money coming in and the football player, I could see something along those lines of where the women just say, you know, this is a violation. So again, I can see that, but ultimately, interesting, and it'll be interesting to see how a USC does in a Big Ten, the Oregons and Texas and Oklahoma. They could be
wishing for the Big Eight.
They could be wishing for the Big Eight real quick.
Like I said, I know.
But yeah,
that's the direction. I think that just kind of, guessing marketing and branding, it seems like that's the direction it's going. Yeah. And even when you see, or you want to have the conversation about A&M, for example, being in the SEC helped their personal brand. That's what it's all about. It's not just the wins. It's not even the TV deals. It's that brand itself generates so much more money now because of who it is, what it does, and where it's.
Yeah, I think we still disagree on that about winning still mattering more, I think, than money. But I totally get what you're saying. But
with the money, and Texas is going to feel this exact same way too. With the money that the school has, the size that it has, the facilities that it has, and now the conference that it plays in, that school, A&M still is feels and probably rightfully feels like it's got a better shot to win a national championship playing inside of the SEC than 10 years ago.
With the 12 team, I can see that.
Yeah, they have to pull it together. And we can talk about Jimbo. I know you want to, but
touch on.
Yeah, it's going to be the same for Texas. It's going to be harder, but you still, when you finally do put that team together, it's going to be a really good team. It's not going to be like TCU where it's like, we're the best in the Big 12. That's really good. We just got destroyed.
Yeah, from a fan's perspective, you're not, you don't want to commit suicide if you lose a late game in October, knowing you just blew a national title shot. Now
right.
It's, hey, I've got a couple mulligans in my pocket. So interesting. Again, just something I wanted to talk about. Just that, you leave, but do you leave for the right reasons? And is it always, it's not always clear on the other side.
It's if every brand's in business, you're either growing or you're shrinking, and you're probably going to see those schools like Rutgers, Vandy you're seeing it in the Big 12. If you weren't a strong enough brand, you got left behind. I think you're going to see. This wouldn't surprise me. You end up with your 28 or 24 or 48 major programs in college football. That's college football, D1. Then there's going to be D2. I really think you're going to see.
Then you see that.
Baylor.
I hope not, but I hope not. But I think the odds are.
They have to, because they have to keep, those teams have to win. Those teams have to win. I think they would like to have the national branding, but I don't think University of Houston, University of Central Florida, I don't think these teams can grow the national brand of like a Texas and A&M and Oklahoma, some of those schools. So I think they're going to have to play each other, and they're going to need to have wins, because otherwise Vanderbilt's never going to win. So who wants to stay in a conference? Because eventually the other teams are going to be like, you got to go.
Well, again, I think we already spent more time on this than we intended. But again, I think it's a great topic. I think we can talk about it for another, for several more times. But going back to kind of Sumlin, how I think you said Sumlin was just never like the guy, and talking about we saw also the Dion video. And I love the Dion video personally.
The fight.
Oh my gosh, I loved it.
Yeah.
Seeing that, the coach saying, "Hey, one of those fights you all fight."
Yeah.
I love that, and I think you don't see that a lot. I don't know. It's just for me. I'm like, I want to play for that man, and kind of like doing our little pre deal. Jimbo Dion, who at this point right now, and you can pick any school, any scenario, Jimbo Dion, who you got at this point?
Like if it was my team, and
you're an AD in a Power 5 conference right now.
I'm an AD.
You're an AD in a Power 5 conference. At this point,
what's the school? Like, I mean, I honestly, if you're Colorado, I don't think Colorado had anything to lose. I think they had everything to gain by having fandom, a superstar. They were going to switch conferences. I don't think Colorado runs on football money at all. So again, what did it really matter? It was like, but Colorado is still a cool school because it's Boulder, and there's a feel, and they've got the history and the golden helmets, and so like I think it's a good fit for Dion, other than cold weather at times. But I don't know that Texas would take him. I don't know that Alabama takes him. I don't think A&M would take him, because it's like he's only been a coach for a couple years. He's a player's guy. A&M's done the player's guy before.
What about school like Ole Miss comes to mind? Maybe Wisconsin, where like you're a big school, you're a state school, but you're not a dominant school like a Bama or a Georgia or whatever. But you're not that bottom feeder like a Kansas or Vanderbilt. So Well,
yeah, and that's the thing about Colorado is I don't think I would have called them a bottom feeder, even though I say they had nothing to lose. Like they have branding, they have history, they have aspirations. Not that Kansas doesn't, but they don't really have the history, I guess, other than a Mangino year or two. But
I don't think they're above Stanford though right now, pre-Dion. Like I think they were the bottom of the barrel of that conference. I think if to me Stanford was the bottom, they're right there.
I think Colorado was a great example of a school that was willing to take the risk. I don't think Dion's the lock. And that's why I think he's going to be really interesting, because he didn't even come in being like, all right, guys, we're going to get better. He's like, hey, have y'all getting out. And like that was crazy.
Your quarterbacks get out. He's coming in.
I mean, that was crazy. So I think there's going to be a lot of eyes on him, and he's going to have the grace, but he's also going to have the grace because I don't think Colorado had anything to lose. Like, can they get worse? Nah. So at least that it's the same thing. Like Colorado is going to be raking in the money, already is, just because he's on the field. So therefore, it's a win for them because again, money. Even if he doesn't win any games,
it's probably, I think, ultimately too can be a win-win for Dion too, because I think you go to Florida State, you got all that pressure, your alma mater, money. Whereas, I mean, there's nowhere to go but up at Colorado, and if it doesn't work, like you can say, man, it's just Colorado.
Well, that's what I mean. If he goes 0-12, he says that, and I think Colorado's like, nah, it's fine, we're building. He walks into an A&M or an FSU or a Texas or heck, even Nebraska, and goes 0-12. I think everyone's like, nope, big mistake, mistake. We shouldn't have done it.
Yeah,
right. Not proven. Don't know if he can recruit. Players coach. They're going to look at that video about like you should be getting in fights and misquoting that and be like, see, no discipline and
kids are gonna eat that video up too.
Yeah. I mean,
kids are gonna eat that video up. Recruits are
certain. Yeah. If he definitely attracts. He has it. I mean, he has his swag. It's who he is. But so is someone. I mean, he was literally Coach Swag.
Swag cup? Is that what it's called? Swag cup, right?
That was a swag cup. So now, there'll be a lot of eyes on him. All I'm saying is, I think the jury's out. I think.
See, I even think. I'm not saying I think Dion's would be a better, like if given my like Jimbo or Dion. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying Dion or Jimbo at this point, but what I will say is that when Dion gets to play games in Texas and gets to recruit those high 3 stars, low 4 stars, or maybe heck, he may even start pulling some 5 stars out of Texas. When he gets that kind of athlete on campus, look out.
Oh, and
Jimbo's got that kind of athlete.
Are you? Well, maybe that's what also, in my opinion, remains to be seen. Is he a player developer? What is the best player that he took from a 3-star and put into the league or something like that? I don't think that's the history that's not really there. Can he recruit a 5-star? Obviously. Does he have very athletic children? Obviously. but I think what would have been extremely impressive is if he walks into Colorado with the talent they had, and like 2 years later they're incredible. Like a Hollywood movie type thing. Remember the Titans, like they're awful and now they're great sort of story. There are those players let's now this start lining. Kevin Sumlin walked into what shouldn't have been a good team and somehow won 10 games the next year with like a 3-star quarterback. So that's why everyone thought he was so incredible. But
I mean, if you're a DB though, especially a cornerback, I mean, who else would you rather learn from, except the GOAT of cornerbacks?
Yeah,
I mean,
I
don't know.
A lot of star power for sure.
Yeah. So, and again, I think it's an interesting debate. I think kind of just where do you go? Jimbo come up 5-7, Dion with all this momentum, and like where are you going to be? But I do agree. I think probably though it's the environment that you put them in will determine where you pick. I definitely agree with that. How do you feel about Jimbo right now as a diehard Aggie?
I still think the guy is smart, good manager. I don't think you haven't seen as much as there's been fodder over the past few years, locker room issues, division in the locker room. You haven't seen just an exodus of players like that hadn't happened. You've had your typical you've had your typical, whatever they call it, the revolving door, the portal, but I don't think it's been any ridiculous amount. You've had plenty of good players, even going to the draft saying I'm coming back for another year, even after a 5-7. When you knew when someone had lost the team, right? Like everybody felt that. You had your 2 number 1 quarterback recruits both pouting on the bench, kind of thing. Like that was indicative of there's an issue. Now, to put into contrast, I think Jimbo acknowledges issues. The Bobby Petrino hire, in my opinion, is a big one. It's a good one. Paul Feinbaum thinks it's about as good as of an assistant hire as you can get. And then giving him the play calling things. Like, I think that there's a lot of listening and maturity in that, instead of just doubling down saying like there is no problem here. So I still like him, and I think he handles the team and media very well.
How do you, as an Aggie, I mean, you brought Jimbo here for his sort of play calling.
Sure.
Kind of gone there, and now he's, I mean, maybe he's just maturing. Do you like the Bobby Petrino hire?
I do. I mean, it remains to be seen, obviously, but what I don't think A&M needed to do was go try to find some young hotshot like a Cliff Kingsbury, and hope, because again, that's the hope and the prayer thing. So I think what A&M really wants is to put their money into some sound stock and see the results. And so it's, let's go hire a national championship coach. Let's go hire a Heisman Trophy developing quarterback coach.
At any point, though, the amount of money he's being paid, though, does that ever come into effect? I mean, I know he's guaranteed it. You got to pay him whatever, but it's like, we paid you a butt ton of money for more than 5 and 7.
Sure. That's yeah. I mean, I think that's like, you're just going to have bad days. You're going to have, unfortunately, with the season, you're going to have bad years. If it's consistent, you end up biting the bullet and being like, all right, I got to get rid of you. And teams do that all the time. Sometimes too fast, but a disappointing year is a disappointing year. And I think you can look at it and go, well, what was anybody going to do with Haynes King? I absolutely think he is the worst quarterback. Not even close. I think he's the worst quarterback in the last 20 years.
Ooh.
And it's not even close.
Worse than Ferry Ferris?
Mark Ferris was better. I mean, he could throw the ball more than 15 yards in a straight line. I do not know if Haynes King was just like fool's gold, or his dad padded his stats in high school, or what, but he would have been found out last year had he not been just flung to the ground like a 130-pound log against Colorado and snapped his bird bone ankle. Like, I just, so he comes in, he's awful. He loses to Appalachian State, can't score more than 14 points against that team at home, gets benched. Max Johnson gets hurt, gets and then comes back in, awful again, gets benched, and then they put in Wegman, who had also been hurt, and then Wegman's good. And it's like, he's at Georgia Tech. That's the best he was going to get to. And that's all I'm saying. I saw an article by Saturdays Down South during the summer. He was literally ranked by other people as the worst quarterback.
He was pretty bad.
He was awful.
So just real quick, there's an article here. It's some Aggie from May 10th. It says, basically saying since late December 2022 to May 10th, 31 players left the program. And guys like Denver Harris, Smoke Bowie, Anthony Lucas, Chris Marshall. I mean, these are LJ Johnson. Texas wanted him bad. These are high 4 or 5 stars
that didn't play.
Denver Harris didn't play, or he just got hurt?
Maybe didn't play a lot.
I wanted Denver Harris bad.
No, I mean, when you recruit the best recruiting class of all time, you have a lot. Well, it was the highest ranked recruiting class ever. It was. That's just a stat. I mean, I get it. You're going off of rivals and stuff.
It's a stat.
But that's a lot of really good players. They're not all going to play, and whether they got paid or not, it's like, well, with this, welcome to the new era. I think that's like basically year one of this is maybe what's going to happen.
So, it's Jimbo. I love to make fun of Jimbo, but I'm not trying to crush Jimbo. You know that, right?
Sure.
But I did go back and kind of look at Jimbo's kind of just like overall win-loss record and want to get your thoughts on it.
We're gonna go through Charlie Strong next
Dude,
week.
go ahead. I will roast Charlie Strong.
Well, I'm gonna pull out all the old video recordings I have of you telling me just how amazing he is and core values and stuff.
All 5 of them.
You still got the shirt that has the list on the back.
The worst part of that picture was it was tucked in.
It was a jersey into khaki shorts.
It was a jersey, core values number 5 tucked in. And I think a guy had cargo pants on too. It was such a bad look. Okay. If you exclude the 2 Jameis years where they won the Natty and then went to the playoff, if you exclude that, and you take all Jimbo's win-loss records from 2010 to now, he is 95-43 as a head coach. Again, excluding the Jameis years. Aggie records 39-21 for a $10 million head coach.
He is definitely playing in a more challenging environment than he ever played in the ACC.
Okay.
But
I mean, he's basically at two wins for everyone.
I'm not saying he doesn't have a sweet deal. He knows he does. I'm not saying that A&M didn't overpay. I just think A&M. Well, I know exactly. They had someone. They had the brand. It's all branding. It's still. This is the thing is you can pay a coach like Jimbo Fisher $10 million, and the press that it generates because of that, and then the players coming because you get him is going to pay back that much more. The seats that got filled in that very next year probably paid for any sort of overlap or overpayment. This is just branding. I mean, marketing, and these big schools are very good at it. So that happens. Now, yeah. So then the bigger conversation. Ultimately, they just want to win. So, yeah, last year was disappointing. I don't think it would happen again. Definitely think there were some winnable games there to at least Mississippi State shouldn't have happened. Appalachian State obviously shouldn't have happened.
I forgot about that game.
I don't know how you can. It's just yeah, you're very easily into a winning record. You're in a bowl game. You're a loss to an FCS school away from a bowl. You know, it's just one of those things.
Is there a record? Okay, well, two quick questions because I think we're running long, and we can get to our conference picks. Do you think standard Aggie fan in general? You think the fan base is over him? You think the fan base is no?
No, and I think that's because of who he is. I think if it's someone and I liked someone to a degree. Like, he was cool, but when he lost the team, you knew he lost the team, and then he wouldn't answer questions, and he didn't own up to issues, and he tried to sweep things under the rug and hide issues. Jimbo's like, look, this is how it is, and he shoots straight, and I think he's smart, and he definitely knows the game of football. Someone would be kind of like, I don't want to talk about offense right now, and Jimbo knows I like watching Jimbo talk about football just in the conferences. I think people do too. So I think he's good for yeah, I mean, he does. He talks super fast, and he's got his West Virginia slang. But I think he's good for the school. I think he's calm, cool, and collected. I do think players respect him, and I think bringing Petrino in is probably part of the growth of that program. So I am excited about Petrino. If he can call good plays, if he's got this offensive mind, hopefully the two of them together are incredible. You've brought in a mature, great recruiter, quarterback developer, former SEC head coach as an offensive coordinator. I think it's
mature.
All right, we're going to talk about off-field antics from 12 years ago. But what I mean is, I think you get Petrino in the room and you don't have a 24-year-old trying to yell at 18-year-old kids.
Okay.
You know, if it's you just hired some GA that's but some of those guys turn out really good. And so like going into our next segment where we start to pick some teams and conferences, if we want to do that or save that till Monday, because when is college football? A week from
Saturday, I think is week. I mean, week 0 is next weekend.
Yeah. But maybe that's what we should do. We should wait till Monday. Let's start off with our conference picks and surprises. But
we do that. Yeah, because we can hit our playoff picks and Aggie predictions, text predictions that weekend too.
Yeah.
So, but just I guess we can finish on this. If A&M goes 7-5 next year, and a couple of losses are bad losses.
7-5 the year that we've got going right now. Yeah,
2023. Some of them are bad losses.
Are you talking we're talking blowouts? Like three score losses?
I think you're talking 17 points or more a couple times. Like where it's just not even a question of you got whipped.
Yeah.
And where does that do your feeling?
I will certainly be analyzing as to who's on the field. Did anything happen? We don't have the easiest schedule, but you won't either once you join the Real Man's League. I mean, Texas finally has what they want. They have everybody else being not good so that they have a chance to win the Big 12 again.
Oh.
Well, hey, I was reading through the top 50 players in the country. A&M doesn't have any in the top 50, but neither does Texas. So we can't really be rolling in with some ridiculous – maybe yours is in there. I don't know. I think
ESPN did top 100. I think like Anais Smith was in there. And then Xavier Worry was in there, but he was like 60 something. And they had
I didn't see. I don't think I saw either one top 50.
So at the U, home Auburn, you got Pig, then you got
neutral.
We got
Alabama at home, but I'm going to tell you, Tennessee on the road.
Yeah,
a little worried. That's my team to watch this year. Because I think Josh Heupel has got it going on. Like I was going to say, like the young offensive mind that maybe just hoping to hit. That was the Josh Heupel type person where UCF brings him in and he's just like on fire.
So
and then continues on to Tennessee.
I'll tease it next week too as my most interesting team in the SEC. I also have Tennessee barely narrowing out A&M for me
in the
as an interesting team.
Interesting. Well,
I am
interesting. I mean, they'll have a new quarterback, but I'm not that concerned with it. They will be on the road, Knoxville. Watch it be a night game or something.
Oh yeah,
that'd be pretty incredible to go to. We also have Ole Miss on the road, and I don't know what we did to piss off Ole Miss, but goodness, do they not like A&M? Or at least Lane Kiffin doesn't. Man, he just got a chip on his shoulder. We might have to throw mustard bottles at him or something. But if we could pull off a trip to Oxford, that'd be pretty incredible.
And then Mississippi State, and then at
Baton Rouge and
Swamp Tiger.
Yeah, on Thanksgiving weekend, they're already favored by 10. No doubt that's going to be a night game. They're going to want revenge. We beat them by 3 scores last year.
Right.
Just Brian Kelly doesn't seem like a very peaceful man to me. So, I don't know that we lose by 3 scores to any of those teams. Thank goodness Bama's at home. But again, if we go into October 7th, 5-0, I'll be feeling pretty good.
I'm just looking at current overall win totals right now. Looks like y'all are 8.5.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So if you're telling me if we get 7, you're talking about a disappointment by a game and a half there. And if a couple of those are big losses, how do I feel? Like, I think that's a pretty honest question right there. Is 8.5? That's a really good bet. If I look at this, like I could see going by Miami, who shouldn't be that good, even though they're on the road. 1, 2, 3, 4, beat Arkansas. 5.
What?
1, 2.
Let's save your official Aggie prediction for next week.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah. I mean, man.
Football's hard.
Football's
unless you're Alabama.
Georgia now. All right. Well, yeah. Okay. Well, that works. We already got next. I got the next episode.
All right. Conference picks.
Picks, playoff picks.
I don't know if I could do playoff picks. I mean, you maybe could do that. It seems a little early, but
why? Well, you got to do it for week 0. After week 0, you can't do any more picks.
I guess. All right.
And then we'll do
odds to get in, and then
you'll do your official A&M prediction, and I'll do the official Texas prediction.
All right.
We'll go from there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we'll pick estimate guess championship games and winners of Power 5 conferences.
Yep.
And then realignment for an hour. All right, dude.
At some point, we'll be done with it.
Yeah. No, it'll never end. So we'll have to let it go. All right, I'm excited. Getting closer to the season.
It's gonna be fun.
All right. Talk to you later.
See you.